For the past 3 months, I've been hearing over and over the gloating surrounding the notion of the will of the people. Then I've been thinking about this and realizing that is the will of the people really that tangible of a commodity? Consider this. Most of the laws that we have to live by on a day-to-day basis are not voted on by us. We elect people. We elect legislators, congressmen, senators, and so forth to make certain decisions for us. We're really not given that much of an input. The will of the people there is, well, we get to choose who gets to represent us. Now, granted, there are a few issues that are so controversial that the politicians are not brave enough to handle, and so they leave it to the will of the people. But is the will of the people just another phrase for mob rule? Consider some of the things that make this country great in terms of the land of opportunity, some of the concepts of equality. Those concepts did not come about from will of the people. If you remember your history, the Constitution was written by white male landowners, which raises the ugly question of, when you're talking about the will of the people, who exactly are people? Because at the time of our Constitution, women were not people, they were property. If you didn't own your own land, you weren't people. If you weren't white, you weren't people. How far have we come now in the past 225 plus years that now any group, even those that are in a minority, whether it be based upon gender, ethnicity, race, or now sexual orientation, are now people. The whole notion of the will of the people and the gloating in California is basically a veiled attempt saying, you're not people. You don't count. You know, that's a horrible thing to think about in a land that prides itself on being the freest one in the country. Oh, and by the way, a lot of those people who talk about the will of the people, they also have a tendency to use phrases like activist judge. Yes, I can acknowledge that a lot of the positive social changes that occurred, allowing women to vote, giving the vote also to blacks, and a lot of these other issues which have made us a more free and a more equal society. A lot of those things came from judges. But be aware of this, those of you that were involved with Proposition 8. Your judges in California were also voted upon. This whole notion of judges being untouchable is not true. So certainly it had to have been at some level the will of the people to put those people in office, because they are also subject to a retention vote. And if the will of the people is to leave them on the court, then maybe they weren't so bad after all. So be careful if you evoke the notion of will of the people, because somewhere along the lines, maybe someone will think that your will doesn't count, because maybe you're not people. Society is always changing, and you can't sit on your laurels and hope that things remain the same, and that some group down the road is going to decide that your opinions are not worth anything.